Hi, folks. Welcome to the Mike Lopez TV Show. I'm your host, ACMike. We'll bring you all things Atlantic City, politics, sports, dining, entertainment, and so much more. Our first guest for tonight is Roxanne Passarella, President and CEO of Club Boardwalk Resorts. Next up, we'll have Pat Fasano, Atlantic City developer. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the show. Our first guest is Roxanne Passarella, President and CEO of Boardwalk Resorts. Roxanne, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
Listen, I'm so glad you're here. I know we've talked about this for a little while now, whether it's the radio show or the TV show here we're doing at Stockton University. Before we get into Boardwalk Resorts, let's talk about you a little bit. A leader, but let's go back to the childhood, upbringing, and whatnot. Tell our viewers.
Okay, a little about me growing up, right? Yeah. All right, so I am from a small town. It's Waterford Township. It's right on the outskirts of Hamilton, which I know you're familiar with. I grew up in a great family. I have two older brothers, and my mom and dad. So my mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was an auto mechanic who in later years created his own business. So it was, doing well. But I always say that, both of my parents did not graduate high school. So, and I think I was the first member of my family to graduate from college and maybe the only to graduate from law school. So proud of that accomplishment. But really good people, hardworking, blue-collar family. And I say all the time, I think that's one of my greatest assets because I learned at an early age how to deal with a lot of different types of people. I learned the value of hard work by watching it happen every day in my household. And I learned, I grew up in an environment with a lot of love. So all those things together gave me a level of confidence that I feel like, I still carry today. And
you do, and I can relate. Father, third grade education,
third
grade, raised 8 kids. Well, here's my grandfather and my dad's Puerto Rico. He gets in trouble in school, and third grade gets. My dad has to go, or my grandfather has to go meet the teacher back in the day. Comes home, gets smacked in the head or whatever they did back then, right? Yeah. And my grandfather says to my dad, "You either go to work or you go to school."
Yep.
Third grade education, third grade, he says, "I'll go to work." And how crazy as things are, my grandfather says, "Okay." Yep. But your point, hard work, and that's what I wanted to touch on. I mean, I was doing some little homework on you, and we've talked before. Yeah. And here we are at Stockton University, you're an alum.
It is, yes.
The hard work pays off. I mean, just touch on that a little bit. Nothing's given to you, right?
No. I still, to this day, nothing's been given to me. So like you said, I went to Stockton. I'm very proud of that. I got into a lot of schools and just knew that my parents could not afford to send me. So, Stockton was certainly an option. Back then, it wasn't a university. It was a smaller school. And, when you're that young and you think the world is ahead of you and you want to go live somewhere else, because this is very close to my home, I wasn't overly thrilled at first, but I realized looking back now that it's one of the best moves I ever made. The people here are amazing, and I didn't realize the value of local connections back then, but I certainly do now. So, I had a full circle moment one evening when I was at a meeting for one of the boards that I'm on at Stockton. I'm on many, and it was my name sort of written on a little nameplate, and I thought to myself, how full circle is this? Because the last time I was in this particular room that the meeting was being held in, I was walking in wondering if I had enough money in my checking account to pay for my final semester and literally sweating it. Right. And walking into the room as then, a member of the board and having had some success in my life was humbling.
And how about that? And I know I see the smile on your face, and I know you say it humbly. Stockton University Foundation of Board of Directors, maybe one of them that you're on the board of.
Yes,
But it's
yep.
very cool, like you said. It's that
cool.
moment where you're saying, "Wow, you know what?" Like you just said, made it. You know what I mean? And that being said, we're going to lead into the next question. So you do a lot of work, and we're going to touch on your business, of course, but empowerment through information, empowerment of women, leaders, like a lot. And I'm going to tell you something, Roxanne. Some women, some guys, whatever, they like to use the word boss. I call them leaders. You're a leader, and whether it's with the women or, overall in the business world. But tell to us about, the women and how you involved in some of those organizations.
Would love to. Yeah. This is one of my favorite topics. So I don't like to call myself a boss. Like you said, a leader is a better word, because I always say, like, I am working with the people that are with me. I don't want to be, at the helm sort of barking orders. I always say this is democracy. But, there always has to be one person with the strength to make a decision. There has to be. But, I love being involved, empowering all people. Empowering young women just happens to be something near and dear to my heart. I was one of the founding members of the Women's Foundation at Stockton. And if any students are listening to this, they should definitely look into that. And it's the Stockton Women's Leadership Council, and it is really an amazing group of women. I can't even tell you, the list is on and on about how just unbelievable these women are. But I love to do it because I feel like in my life, many people have empowered me. And, I say all the time, life is about perspective. And I didn't have a huge perspective growing up, lived in like a little town in a little home and had a very little, like a small life in terms of like where I traveled to. I didn't go many places. But I met some people along the way that had a bigger scope, and they shared it with me. And I think when that happens, you want more, you desire more. And you feel like, maybe there's something more out there for you. So I just like young women to see that I was where they are once, and I had big dreams. And I feel like what those dreams were, I've accomplished, and it can happen for all of us. I didn't grow up with any type of silver spoon, or just good, hardworking parents that taught me how to go get it.
And you talk to me when I hear you talking right now. The gratitude, giving it back.
Grateful.
The folks have to go. Whether it's young men, women, or whomever, whatever age it may be. You got to be able to get it, go out, seek it. And this wasn't part of the question, but I feel a lot of what you're talking about too is being in the right place. Not so much at the right time, but getting out there, networking, telling people, introducing yourself. Tell them how important that is just to walk up to somebody and introduce yourself to them.
So, now my circle is a lot bigger, and I feel like my friends joke with me. They're like, if you ever want to get a hold of anybody, just ask Roxanne. How do you have so many friends is the question. Well, I'm a really good friend. But I think, so once your circle gets bigger, your network gets bigger, you bring people in, you share it with other people. One of the most valuable and important things for me is that I get to do this and my 11-year-old daughter gets to watch. So every day she gets to see her mom do what I love and what I'm passionate about, and, do it in an arena that is not, there aren't very many women. And she's already a strong and, confident little girl, which is amazing. So I get to, everything I do, every move I make, so to speak, I think, what would she think about that?
Right. And it's so important. I mean, I know in my little world too, what I do is I always wanted to, I worked in the Department of Public Safety, fancy name for the jail, for 25 years. And I was kind of like pushed away from everybody. I was kind of like, I don't want to go in crowd, because it was so loud, noisy. But I always realized that if we wanted to get involved, whether it was volunteering on different boards, radio, or what we're doing here on TV, you got to talk to somebody. And not that I didn't mind talking, but it was usually to my friends. And then once we started networking, which I didn't come from that world neither, I just felt, you got to go up and push yourself. So I always encourage, whether it's my nieces, nephews, some of the viewers here, to get on out there and just talk and meet people and find where these events, what you love. I mean, if you want to be a great meatball maker, you get around meatball makers, and
So right.
It's that way. So listen, let's talk a little bit about your business now, what you're doing and what's going on there, the properties and the excitement, and take us a little bit back. I know we're out of COVID, sort of, but take us a little bit through that too, because I know that couldn't have been an easy task.
No. So I'll take you all the way back. I started at this company that I now own, oh God, it had to be 21 or so years ago. Now you all know how old I am. You can guess 22. Yeah, 23. But I started there doing some legal work straight out of law school and just thought this would be a nice pit stop for me until I get to where I'm going. And here I am. This is like my first real job. And I purchased the company from my then mentor in 2018. So like you said, that was a lot. It was hard work beyond, like, I don't even think I could explain to you how hard I worked. Looking back now, I don't even think I could do it again. That's how hard it was. And in the meantime, having 3 children. So I call it the blackout period. I don't even know, like, I don't remember half of it. But, you know, I was able to do it and get there. And then, you know, eventually it came all sort of full circle and good things all came to fruition. And I was able to, you know, see it through. But that's something, you know, that I put a lot of value onto and emphasis on, is that in today's world, a lot of people think, you know, it happens so fast, you know, and to them, a long time is a year, especially the younger generation.
Right.
It took me 20 years. There's nothing overnight. There's no, you have to, the stairs, you know? And wow, what a journey. But, it, you know, looking back, I learned a lot. And, you know, sitting here today, I think it's what makes me so grateful. Right. Because I think if I was handed it, I don't think I would feel that way.
You wouldn't appreciate it being that way.
Yeah.
So tell our viewers where they're at. We only have a few minutes left, and how they can access your properties and whatnot.
Perfect. We are formerly Fantasy Resorts, now Boardwalk Resorts. When my partner and I bought the company, we wanted to rebrand just to give it a new, fresh feel. We are in Atlantic City, 2 hotels, the Flagship Resort and the Atlantic Palace, and then 1 in Brigantine, La Samana. I think you're going to run our website information, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So great properties. I'll give you just a quickie on each. The Flagship is a very family-oriented resort. It has an indoor pool. It has an arcade, really fun things, sort of all-inclusive, good time. The Atlantic Palace, we always say, is like the 5th Avenue. Because it's located right in the middle of everything. Right. So you walk out the front door, you're right on the boardwalk. And La Samana, if you want a great beach vacation, I think we're 2 blocks from the beach, and we are all suites, so kitchens, living rooms. We're the only resort, I think, in Atlantic City that has balconies.
I believe you are.
Yeah, beautiful views. So, yeah.
Boardwalk Resorts, correct?
Yep,
Boardwalk Resorts. Listen, and those views, I'm telling you, I'm looking at you, telling you, from the Flagship, and like you said, the Atlantic Club and the La Samana, but I'm a fan of the Flagship. Are incredible. I mean, some of the most beautiful is with that boardwalk done a few years back. So, listen, we're so glad that you joined us. This won't be the last or the first time that you're going to be here. We're going to have you back, and we're going to talk some more about the city and where we see it going. So we'll catch you in a little bit. Yep. Roxanne, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Folks, stay right where you're at. We'll be right back with our next guest. Welcome back to the show. Our next guest is a friend and Atlantic City's own Pat Fasano, developer extraordinaire.
Absolutely extraordinaire. Come on, Mike, you know that.
Pat, welcome to the show, man. So glad that you're out here. Yeah. Listen, folks, you're going to have to stay with us. We're going to have to keep waking this gentleman up because he's got no energy. Listen, Pat, we know what you're doing in Atlantic City, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go on with this interview. But do me a favor, just let our viewers know a little bit about you, a little bit about that Asbury Park move, and then what you were doing.
Hey, you know, we started way back in New Brunswick when there was nothing there, you know, and I was surprised when I got to Atlantic City and I saw Devco was here. I said, oh, Chris Palladino, Devco. Then I saw Borai was here from New Brunswick. So that was like the old New Brunswick crew I'm finding in Atlantic City. I'm like, something's got to be right. And I was looking for the next spot because Asbury Park was a lot of fun for a long time, and then it just, you know, hit the wall. You know, there's like no more you can do. You know, there's no more property you could buy. There's no more buildings you could buy. So where do you go next? So everybody kept asking me, Pat, where's the next Asbury Park? We want to get in on it. And I'm telling you right now, this is it. It's Atlantic City. Don't be afraid. The weather's fine. Come on in.
I love it. I love it. And like I said, we met maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and I think it was at a City Hall meeting, and you were doing something there, and I was like, New York Avenue, yeah. And I was like, looked at this dude, and I was like, New York Avenue, what are you going to do out there? So, you know, you did this thing, go back a little bit more with the Asbury Park, what you kind of did there and your investment friends, what you did, and then New York Avenue, and then move on.
When I got to Asbury Park, literally $5,000 I paid for the first building downtown. That's how, it was tumbleweeds. No one was on Cookman Avenue. So like, you know, you didn't buy a building, you bought a city block. You know, and that's what we did. And it was me and a core group of guys in Asbury Park back in the late 90s and the early 2000s, just buying buildings up downtown, opening businesses. I bought my first liquor license for $50,000. We opened Bond Street Bar. Bond Street Bar is still running strong. You know, so Bond Street Bar, I mean, we got so busy. We opened a bar with a hole-in-the-wall bar with 40 seats, and we wanted to make sure it looks busy, so we put a shuffleboard table in there too, so you're like, this is the bar. Yeah, exactly. Take up some more real estate, you know? And it got so busy with Johnny Mac coming in the beer garden, everybody, that we had to expand to the complex next door, and now we're gangbusters in Asbury Park. I mean, there's a line out the door to get in every night. It's crazy. So where's the next spot? Where can we do it again? Because now, you know, we need the next exciting spot. And Atlantic City is just so positioned so well to come back. But we got to bring it back block by block, just like we did in Asbury Park. It's hand-to-hand combat. It's block by block. You got to fight to take it back, but it's worth saving.
And that's exactly right.
Yeah.
I'm one of the ones who, you know, go back to 1854 when Dr. Jonathan Pitney. No, I'm not. Well, Dr. Jonathan Pitney, you know, health and wellness and fun.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was the world's playground. It wasn't self-proclaimed. It was what the world named it. And then what you're doing out there is bringing the revitalization back. You know, you're bringing the streets, and you took a street that was kind of rough, you know, not kind of, was rough, is rough, right? It was a time.
The dead zone.
And the dead zone, and you've talk about Beret and talk about some of those concepts that you had, because we would talk throughout the years.
3 weeks ago, we had 3,000 people there for Frantic City. Come on, Yolo Tango, I mean, Murder City Devils, Bouncing Souls came. It was great to see that kind of excitement and that many people on the street. And what started off as me meeting 2 young guys, Evan and Zenith, and they came to Asbury Park to see me at Bond Street Bar, and I liked these kids. I'm like, I'm gonna come see you in Atlantic City. And they showed me what they were doing on Tennessee Avenue. I said, hey guys, this is great, but I'm gonna buy the next 3 blocks. And I quietly did. I quietly did. We're all the way up to Kentucky. So people don't know, but we own literally 3 city blocks, and we have plans to continue to develop the Orange Loop. It's going to be incredible. So, you know, right now we got a 15,000 square foot new building going up. It's going to be recreational marijuana on the first floor because we're in the green zone. So we're the Orange Loop in the green zone, and we got MPX going to be in there for our first recreational marijuana upstairs. We got 8 new apartments, very modern building, a building like when you see it finished with, you know, $90,000 worth of Marvin windows, and you know, people are gonna say, "What's this guy doing building this building here?" Right. But that's where it starts. I'm gonna show you how much confidence I have. I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is. I'm gonna show you it works, and then they're all gonna come in, and the floodgates are gonna open. You're gonna see what's gonna happen to Atlantic City. It's gonna be incredible.
And what you're saying there too is like we talk about a revitalization and trying to bring the city back block by block, and I believe part of it is investors, right? Definitely investors such as yourself. Yeah. But also, you need those millennials, whatever you want to call them. Oh, people move, young men and women moving in, whether they're getting married, they were Stockton University graduates, and they take that degree, keep it here, move down to New York. That's, I think, an important element that we need to raise it forward and talk about it a little, because I know that's been discussed.
Build it and they will come. I mean, it's such an old saying, but it's so true. It's like, oh, why don't people live in Atlantic? Well, where are they going to live? Right. I'm going to show you where they're going to live. The apartments, the style that we're doing the apartments are like New York lofts. People come in and like, wow, this is Atlantic City, and the price point is so much less than surrounding areas. I mean, everybody knows what's happening with rents. Rents are going up, up, up. I mean, it's all over. But Atlantic City, it's still that little sweet spot.
It's a little leveraged right still. So go ahead and talk to your other, you know.
Yeah, so I mean, look, the recession's coming. Okay, I started when Jimmy Carter was the president. My first loan was like 18%. I was thrilled. Okay, I think prime was 21. Right. So you're to tell me about it. Oh, 6%. Oh my God, what do we do now? Amateurs, okay? So real estate prices went through the moon, okay? So, yeah, a house that used to be $300,000 in Asbury Park is $1 million now. A house that used to be $300,000 in Atlantic City is 150. I mean, it's like, why? Why? Beachfront property. I mean, we just bought a 2-family a block from the beach for $200,000. I bought a penthouse apartment on the 27th and 28th floor of the Enclave for $200,000. What? $200,000 is a down payment anywhere else. Right. That's the purchase price here. So I mean, where are you going to go but Atlantic City? Bring your heart. Come. Bring your tiled masses. Like the man come see me.
The weather is good and it's fine. Talk to us now about a little bit of your love for music, what's going on, and we're going to touch on a couple other projects. I heard some little bird in my ear saying something about Renaissance, but talk to us about that music scene. I mean, Atlantic City's had music. We've always had music, but you're bringing that like 7 days a week, that crazy man Steve Weiss you got working over there, does a great job. Talk to us.
The big difference, I mean, look, Atlantic City has some of the greatest entertainment in New Jersey, or in the state, in the country for that matter, okay? But it's in soundproof rooms inside casinos, and nobody really knows what's going on unless you got a ticket. Right. So I'm trying to bring it like the Stone Pony to the street. My house is right behind the Stone Pony. From my deck, I got back seat. I got backstage. So from my house on 3rd and Kingsley, I'm looking at his Porta, here's the Stone Pony, and then they built this, you know, high-rise next to me, okay? But it doesn't block my view. It's a nice building. You know, the apartments started at $1.5 million. They go up to $5 million. They're almost sold out. They're doing good. Okay, but the music is it. Like when you walk down the boardwalk in Atlantic City, you know who's at the Pony. You know who's at the Wonder Bar. You know who's on the roof of the hotel. I mean, the music's in the air. It's in the street. So that's what I'm trying to do. That's why we got the summer stage. That's why we're doing the outdoor shows. That's why we put speakers around Boo-Ray, and we're going to just, you know, put the music out there. Let people hear the music, okay? How about music in the street instead of people fighting and screaming, okay?
No, exactly, yeah. I mean, I love it. Yeah. Nobody likes the show more than I do. And like you said, I believe, you know, I love our casinos and what they do with the shows and the beach stuff. But it's on the street when I'm walking down Pacific Avenue or on the boardwalk or going up and down. And I'm like, wow, listen to that. And I jump in my truck and I'll pull up and there it is. It's going on right there. Yeah. And I believe it's finally, for many years been living here, the boardwalk folks would stay on the boardwalk. The folks on Pacific Avenue, if they're going somewhere, they go in and pull in. And you're right when you say they're walking off, coming off New York Avenue, the Orange Loop, and checking out what you got. I mean, you got to be seeing that besides regular ticket buyers.
Hey, you know, it all started with the Rutgers study. I mean, that's how it started with Evan and Zenith, my first 2 partners. Now I have a whole group of partners that have joined me. But they were the first 2, and they directed me to the Rutgers study. It was called the Downtown Loop, and it identified what was called the dead zone between the Claridge and resorts as like, this could be the most promising area to build a downtown. And I'm like, you know what I love about Asbury Park is I can walk from downtown to the beach. I can just, you know, I love that, the downtown beach thing. And I said, I can do that, but Atlantic City doesn't have a downtown. We got to build one. And we're going to start right here on New York Avenue, and you know, what Mark Colazzo, what he's doing at the beer garden, and Rhythm and Spirits, and what his little scene, and what the Ocean Avenue. Oh my God, the change in Ocean Avenue. Kirk and those doing the Airbnbs. God bless them. I mean, John and Ryan, couple young entrepreneurs,
talking to them also.
Came in. They're doing the Airbnb. So Paul and Ashley, another young couple, moved here from New York. I mean, it's happening. It's one thing when you're there alone and you're like, you know, am I making the right decision? Right. It's different when you see that. Wow, and they're great people. These aren't just people. Right. These are great people that really care. and really are going to make a difference. Because one man, yeah, John Longacre, I don't want to leave him out. I mean, the Anchor Rock Club, the Armory.
Yeah, great job.
I mean, there's more and more coming in. Odin Properties coming in from Philadelphia. They're going to start that New York Avenue project. You know, there's just so much happening. In 3 years, I'm going to tell you something. In 3 years, you're going to be like, wow. Oh, I got to kick myself in the butt for not buying in Atlantic City.
Yeah, it's,
you know,
like you said, the weather's good. You know, come in. One of the things that you've touched on too, and we're going to talk more about it when you come back, because you're definitely going to have to come back, is Renaissance. Tell us a little bit. We got about 2 minutes, Pat.
Hey,
so
look,
tell us a little bit about what that project's like.
I'll tell you what. You know, it was a train I missed, but then it came back around the track. You know, so 3 years ago, it went up for auction. This building's been empty since 2015. It was built in 1985. I mean, it's like windows on the water. It's right next to Roxanne. Roxanne's Atlantic Palace, and then here it is, La Renaissance, right next to it. It's little sister at 11 stories, you know. And it's sat empty since so I missed it at an auction, and then it came back around. I got the phone rang. You're Pat Fasano? I heard you're the right guy. I said, I could be the right guy. What's your and Dave, I made the deal with Dave, and we closed on the Renaissance. We're in there working. We got a great crew in there, and we filled 500-yard dumpsters already. 100-yard dumpsters.
Wow.
Not 30s, hundreds. You know,
that's going to be awesome. And again, beautiful part of the boardwalk. Yeah. You know, that's part of what we were going to talk about, and we're running out of time. But making Atlantic City better. I mean, that's what you're.
It's coming back.
That's what you
it's
see,
on the comeback trail. And you know, recession, come on, I'm going to build right through this. That means I can get workers easier, I can get material cheaper. Don't worry, come on, let's go.
There you go.
I'm ready.
Right. So, folks, listen, the guy, you'll see him out there on New York Avenue throughout now Renaissance. He's always doing work. That's where I saw him, and I met him, and I'm so glad I did, because he brings a smile to my face, and it's hard work. It's hard work what you've done, but you've done the work. You put your money where your mouth is.
It's rewarding. It really is.
And it's benefited Atlantic City and employees.
You know, money's worth nothing. It's the energy you can make. You know, it's like you got to make it. It's energy. You got to move it through the universe. That's what we're going to do. And it's going to attract more and more people and more investment. And stay tuned. Stay tuned.
There you go, folks. Here's the man right here. So glad you're with us. Pat, thank you so much for coming on to the show. We really appreciate it.
No problem, Mike, anytime.
Listen, we can't wait to have you back. Folks, stay right where you're at. We'll be right back. Hey folks, it's our belief here at the Mike Lopez TV Show that you, the viewers, and our guests bring the show to life. Thanks to each and every one of you for joining us tonight. To learn more about AC Mike, go to acmikeNJ.com, on Facebook at Mike Lopez, LiveWorkPlayAC, and on Instagram at ACMikeNJ. And remember to live, work, play AC, and I'll see you on the 48.